Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some Path of Exile 1 discussion. Well, we're in 3.28 teaser season, at least officially. Grinding Games dropped a whole bunch of big bombshells a couple of days ago, and then since then they've gone quiet. There's been absolutely nothing, and in fact, this is the closest that we've got to a launch without knowing the name of the upcoming expansion. What this says to me is that the next expansion, 3.28, is probably going to have a name that is quite a substantial lore teaser. So don't expect a name like Heist. Expect something like Devastation of the Atlas or something along those lines. Now, I'm making that up and I'm not suggesting that the content will be what you might expect in something called Devastation of the Atlas, just that the name is something they seem to be considering a major spoiler. Either that or they've just decided to try a new system for building pre-launch hype. Also, today's video is brought to you by the player run event BPL. Not in the sense of a sponsorship, they're not paying me for this or anything like that, but I wanted to plug this event because I have a lot of fun with it and I will have more fun if it ends up filling up. So this is a player run Path of Exile 1 event that's running this weekend, and it's going to be 6 teams of 50 players competing in basically a whole scavenger hunt across the entirety of Path of Exile 1 and collecting items from a whole bunch of places and also doing a number of meme challenges like killing a particular boss while singing the song Baby Shark. Anyways, if you want to get more information about it, BPL's got a website, link down in the description below. And this is the 18.5 event. This is the sort of time that they do experimental stuff at the end of a league. I'll be playing in this. I won't have as much time as I like to have sometimes for BPL, but I would only recommend this if you're the sort of person that is definitely capable of having your void stones done by at the very least the middle of the second day, because you're going to want to be able to spend a bunch of time just chasing down meme things over the remainder of the event. If you're not someone that's that fast, you won't have much fun with it. But if you are that fast, you'll probably have a lot of fun with this and you'll meet a bunch of people as well. Anyways, BPL this weekend. All that out of the way, with Grinding Games providing no information, there is, however, still some information coming out of the Path of Exile community, and there is a really good post over on the Path of Exile 1 subreddit, linked down in the description below by user QualiaH. What QualiaH has done is gone and generated 5,000 Runegrafts so that we've been able to work out the rarity of all of the different Runegrafts in the game. Now, one of these is extremely rare. You would probably be able to guess this by the content of what it does. This is a fishing meme. Fishing meme items are always really rare. Runegraft of the Angler, all hits are critical strikes while holding a fishing rod. Now, the thing that's interesting here, this is a meme item, but it's also a very strong item. It's a very situational item because the shield slot is really good. You can't use a shield and a fishing rod simultaneously. You can't get any caster weapon stats or attack stats on your fishing rod except for cast speed, because of the meme where cast speed, it actually makes sense both for spells and also for fishing rods. So you can get cast speed on them, but that's the only speed mod you can get, the only combat mod you can get at all on them. However, there are builds that can use this. It's really strong on a couple of really corner case niche builds. In many ways, this is like the original Sin relic that comes out of the Sanctum. It's a crazy rare item. There's always more demand for that relic than the number of them that exist. And as a result, it's very expensive, and it stays expensive over an entire league. Runegraft of the Angler is that. This is the chase item out of King's March, and it's something that the vast majority of people will never see, but it's something that can be traded for, but it does tend to be very expensive. When I'm talking very expensive, anywhere from 0.6 to 2 mirrors, depending on the specific meta of that league. So, with that out of the way, Runegraft of the Angler is extremely rare. Exactly 0 of them came up in QualiaH's dataset. After that though, there's nothing crazy rare. There's a number of them that are pretty rare, but none of them are absolutely crazy. And QualiaH has identified 4 plausible tiers for Runegraft rarity. Let's go through the ones that are in the rarest tier. These are the ones that you might not find yourself for quite some time in solo self-found, but none of them are in such huge demand that they're crazy expensive, unless there's some weird interaction with them. And we'll mention that when we come to the Runegraft of the Witchmark, which is in this category and was quite expensive in the Legacy of Freesia 2.0 event. So let's start with the first one, Runegraft of Gemcraft. +1 to the level of all non-exceptional support gems. This is just a pure power thing, but it's not relevant for a lot of builds. The wording non-exceptional means this doesn't work on Enlighten, Enhance, Empower, or their Awaken versions. It does, however, work on Awaken gems, and there's a few gems that get a large boost from being boosted up a level here. So it's something that's worth keeping in mind. Most of the time, you're not going to want this on a character, but sometimes you will. So that's the Runegraft of Gemcraft. After that, we have the Runegraft of Stability. This one's complicated. Your lucky and unlucky effects are instead unexciting. This does not mean they're cancelled out. What it means is you roll 3 times and you take the middle roll. If you're talking about things that just deal damage, so you're talking about attacks and the like and how much damage you do, if you've got lucky damage on your attacks, then actually unexciting damage is pretty close to unmodified damage. So neither lucky nor unlucky. However, where it's quite different from just rolling with neither lucky nor unlucky on it is when it's a binary chance. So your critical strike chance. If your critical strike chance is around 70%, you will find that unexciting criticals are actually quite a bit better than just getting your critical hits as they would normally come. And the reason for that is that what happens with unexciting with a binary roll, it pushes you away from 50%. So if you're over 50%, it'll increase your chances of getting a favorable result. If you're under 50%, it'll decrease your chances. And the further away from 50% you get, the more of an effect that this tends to have. So that's the Runegraft of Stability. This is one that you only really want if your character is getting unlucky effects as a drawback on the build. And in that situation, you want to consider it. In fact, in that situation, you probably always want to use it. The next one of these is the Runegraft of the Soulwick. Gain 1 Vile Soul per second. The vast majority of builds don't care about this, but for a small number, it is absolutely phenomenal. This is really, really strong, but also really, really niche. One thing important to keep in mind with Runegraft of the Soulwick is that in Path of Exile, effects that prevent something trump things that just make something else happen. So what that means here is that Runegraft of the Soulwick will actually be turned off during Vile Soul Gain prevention. So it's not something that you can use to get permanent uptime on anything, but it is pretty strong, just only on the right build. And finally, also on really, really strong, really, really niche, Runegraft of the Witchmark. This has a tremendous drawback. Spells cost plus 8% of your life. However, spells deal added chaos damage equal to 2% of your maximum life. There are builds where this is fantastic. They are particularly good in the Legacy of Freesia 2.0 event. And in that particular event, this is the super chase one of all of the Runegrafts. However, that event's coming to an end very soon, so I don't think many people that haven't started it are going to go and chase down a Runegraft of the Witchmark now. You'll notice that a lot of really, really good Runegrafts have not come up here. And probably one of the most important of them is Runegraft of the Fortress. This is actually in what I would term the uncommon tier. So what we have here, essentially, if we want to use terminology from other games, particularly collectible card games, Tier 4, as QualiaH has it, is common. Tier 3 is uncommon, and it's not much rarer than common. Tier 2 is rare, and that's not much rarer than Tier 3. And then it's a big jump from Tier 2 to Tier 1, which we might call Mythic Rare. And then Tier 0 is Extreme, or Joke Rarity, or Meme Rarity, whatever you want to call it. But this best of all of the Runegrafts is just in the uncommon tier. It's very easy to get your hands on. Runegraft of the Novamark, this is another one that's extremely popular. It's another one that's extremely good. And it is also just in that uncommon tier 3. So you won't have any trouble finding these, at least if the rarities of these stay the same. Now you'll notice that I have not talked about Runegraft of Refraction here. It is also in that uncommon rarity tier, but it's also the one that I think probably has the most chances of either being mechanically changed, nerfed in some way, or alternately ending up being rarer in the future. So where the other ones I think are pretty likely to stay in that same rarity tier going forward, who knows with Runegraft of Refraction, it could easily end up in the same rarity tier as the likes of the Runegraft of Gemcraft in the future. You'll generally find, if you have a look through, that Tier 3, as QualiaH reckons, is most of the strongest Runegrafts. Tier 4 is mostly ones that are kind of niche. Tier 2 is also mostly ones that are kind of niche. And then Tier 1 is very niche, but ones that can be quite often quite good. Anyways, that's a bit of a look at the relative rarity of Runegrafts as they exist in patch 3.27. Thanks to QualiaH's post over on the Path of Exile 1 subreddit. Again, I am linking to that down in the description below. I'm going to leave it there. May your Valobs have interesting results, and may you fish up some interesting Runegrafts in Kingsmarch.